Agnotology, formerly agnotology, is the study of culturally induced ignorance or doubt, particularly the publication of inaccurate or misleading scientific data. Robert N. Proctor, a Stanford University professor specializing in the history of science and technology, and linguist Iain Boal coined the neologism on the basis of the Neoclassical Greek word gamma nu omega sigma iota, āγνωσις, not knowing, cf. Attic Greek gamma nu omega tau omicron unknown, and lambda omicron gamma alpha, logia. More generally, the term also highlights the increasingly common condition where more knowledge of a subject leaves one more uncertain than before. David Dunning of Cornell University is another academic who studies the spread of ignorance. Dunning warns that the Internet is helping propagate ignorance. It is a place where everyone has a chance to be their own expert, he says, which makes them prey for powerful interests wishing to deliberately spread ignorance. In his 1999 book The Erotic Margin, Irvin C. Schick referred to unknowledge to distinguish it from ignorance, and to denote socially constructed lack of knowledge, that is, a conscious absence of socially pertinent knowledge. As an example, he offered the labeling terra incognita in early maps, noting that the reconstruction of parts of the globe as uncharted territory is, the production of unknowledge, the transformation of those parts into potential objects of Western political and economic attention. It is the enabling of colonialism. There are many causes of culturally induced ignorance. These include the influence of the media, either through neglect or as a result of deliberate misrepresentation and manipulation. Corporations and governmental agencies can contribute to the subject matter studied by agnotology through secrecy and suppression of information, document destruction, and myriad forms of inherent or avoidable cultural-political selectivity, inattention, and forgetfulness. Proctor cites as a prime example of the deliberate production of ignorance the tobacco industry's advertising campaign to manufacture doubt about the cancerous and other health effects of tobacco use. Under the banner of science, the industry produced research about everything except tobacco hazards to exploit public uncertainty. Agnotology also focuses on how and why diverse forms of knowledge do not come to be, or are ignored or delayed. For example, knowledge about plate tectonics was censored and delayed for at least a decade because some evidence remained classified military information related to undersea warfare. History. Origins. The term agnotology was first coined in a footnote in Proctor's 1995 book, The Cancer Wars: How Politics Shapes What We Know and Don't Know About Cancer. Historians and philosophers of science have tended to treat ignorance as an ever-expanding vacuum into which knowledge is sucked, or even, as Johannes Kepler once put it, as the mother who must die for science to be born. Ignorance, though, is more complex than this. It has a distinct and changing political geography that is often an excellent indicator of the politics of knowledge. We need a political agnotology to complement our political epistemologies. Proctor was quoted using the term to describe his research only half-jokingly, as agnotology in a 2001 interview about his lapidary work with the colorful rock agate. He connected the two seemingly unrelated topics by noting the lack of geologic knowledge and study of agate since its first known description by Theophrastus in 300 BC, relative to the extensive research on other rocks and minerals such as diamonds, asbestos, granite, and coal, all of which have much higher commercial value. He said agate was a victim of scientific disinterest, the same structured apathy he called the social construction of ignorance. He was later quoted as calling it agnotology, the study of ignorance, in a 2003 New York Times story on medical historians testifying as expert witnesses. Proctor co-organized a pair of events with Londa Schiebinger, his wife, who is also a science history professor. The first was a workshop at the Pennsylvania State University in 2003 titled Agnotology, the Cultural Production of Ignorance, and later a conference at Stanford University in 2005 titled Agnotology, the cultural production of ignorance. Political economy. In 2004, Londa Schebinger gave a more precise definition of agnotology in a paper on 18th-century voyages of scientific discovery and gender relations, and contrasted it with epistemology, the theory of knowledge, saying that the latter questions how we know while the former questions why we do not know. Ignorance is often not merely the absence of knowledge but an outcome of cultural and political struggle. Its use as a critical description of the political economy has been expanded upon by Michael Betancourt in a 2010 article titled Immaterial Value and Scarcity in Digital Capitalism and expanded in the book The Critique of Digital Capitalism. His analysis is focused on the housing bubble as well as the bubble economy of the period from 1980 to 2008. Betancourt argues that this political economy should be termed agnotologic capitalism because the systemic production and maintenance of ignorance is a major feature that enables the economy to function as it allows the creation of a bubble economy. Betancourt's argument is posed in relation to the idea of effective labor. He states that the creation of systemic unknowns where any potential fact is always already countered by an alternative of apparently equal weight and value renders engagement with the conditions of reality the very situations effective labor seeks to assuage contentious and a source of confusion, reflected by the inability of participants in bubbles to be aware of the imminent collapse until after it has happened. The biopolitical paradigm of distraction, what Proctor calls life to enjoy, can only be maintained if the underlying strictures remain hidden from view. If effective labor works to reduce alienation, agnotology works to eliminate the potential for dissent. In his view, the role of effective labor is to enable the continuation of the agnotologic effects that enable the maintenance of the capitalist status quo. Agnotology. A similar word from the same Greek roots, agnotology, meaning the science or study of ignorance, which determines its quality and conditions or the doctrine concerning those things of which we are necessarily ignorant, describes a branch of philosophy studied by James Frederick Ferrier in the 19th century. Enigmology. Anthropologist Glenn Stone points out that most of the examples of agnotology, such as work promoting tobacco use and challenging the validity of global warming, do not actually create a lack of knowledge so much as they create confusion. A more accurate term for such writing would be enigmology, from the root enigma, as in enigma. In Greek this refers to riddles or to language that obscures the true meaning of a story. Media influence. The availability of such large amounts of knowledge in this information age may not necessarily be producing a knowledgeable citizenry. Instead, it may be allowing many people to cherry-pick information in blogs or news that reinforces their existing beliefs, and to be distracted from new knowledge by repetitive or base entertainments. There is conflicting evidence on how television viewing affects intelligence as well as values formation. An emerging new scientific discipline that has connections to agnotology is cognitronics. Cognitronics aims a. at explicating the distortions in the perception of the world caused by the information society and globalization and b. at coping with these distortions in different fields. Cognitronics is studying and looking for the ways of improving cognitive mechanisms of processing information and developing emotional sphere of the personality, the ways aiming at compensating three mentioned shifts in the systems of values and, as an indirect consequence, for the ways of developing symbolic information processing skills of the learners, linguistic mechanisms, associative and reasoning abilities, broad mental outlook being important preconditions of successful work. Practically in every sphere of professional activity in information society. The field of cognitronics appears to be growing as international conferences have centered on the topic. The 2013 conference will be in Slovenia.
Please subscribe and thanks for watching.